Ooh, you're getting spicy.
3, 2, 1.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Server Restart In. It is a weekly World of Warcraft podcast hosted by three opinionated players, one of whom sometimes can't speak. That's me, Jim, joined by Kristen.
Hello.
And Brian.
Mellow.
Yellow Mellow. And 10.0.7 has been out for a little bit. The Forbidden Reach, the new zone, has been thoroughly explored. It is an...
By most people.
By most people. Some people have not had a chance to do that yet. I don't know anybody that fits that description.
Yeah.
It's interesting because there is the vault area where you kind of gather keys and stuff, and you can open doors, and it's different each time.
It's annoying.
And it is annoying. The key farm is annoying because it drops off of rares, or you can get them off of mobs, or you can get it from chests for if you get rep token things to turn into the envoys for the different factions or the renown guys or whatever. But I think it's about 30 doors
30.
in a vault.
29 or something like that.
And
I don't know.
So it's you open doors, and by opening doors, you unlock the ability to get the stuff out of some doors that you already opened. Like there's like a fire room, and you have to go open the alchemy room so that you can make a potion of ice and throw it in, which snuffs the flames kind of thing. So it's kind of a progressive thing. It's not all like that, but it is like a little bit puzzle, a little bit not. It's interesting. I was trying to get the recipe to make the unstable elementium, which is the item that you use to upgrade the primordial stones that go in the ring that you get. Because you can upgrade each stone twice to like 424. You put 3 gems in, the ring becomes a 424 ring. And to get it, you have to buy the recipe to make the tuning fork that you use on the crystal to summon the rare that drops the recipe. Well, I farmed for a lot to get that thing, and it didn't drop. And then somebody sent me a fork, so I was able to get the thing. And then, like, the next day, I got the blue drop to make the actual tuning fork. I was like, you gotta be kidding me. On a different character, nonetheless. It was obnoxious. But it's, pretty easy recipe. Just been making stuff for people in the guild and whatnot to, like, just crank up them stones, right? Level them stones.
Yep.
So it's interesting. It gives you kind of something to do. I don't know. They are the story's pretty interesting. It's kind of setting up the raid coming up in 10-1.
Oh, there's a story?
Oh.
Dude, have you seen anybody else talking about some of this stuff? Now, obviously, like, I'm always alluding back to Taliesin because he's got the best conspiracy theories.
Yeah.
I mean, the most well researched.
Right,
I guess
thought
you might
out.
say.
Right.
Yeah, he can connect some like blurry lines together, and
Yeah.
it kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
And like, holy shit, like it's like if it's true, like super spicy, super awesome.
So
Probably not that good,
a little
though.
bit, I guess, conspiracy corner-ish. Like there's like potential for like 2 more unknown old gods to be around.
Oh yeah,
Kind of.
That's cool.
Yeah. Which, I mean, it always comes back to the old gods, right?
It does.
And then we're going to be going to the void dimension.
And it should, because like it really is like that is the only thing left really right now that is like you can't
light and the shadow, yeah.
Yeah.
well you can't beat this thing, right? Like it's how you work with it.
I think that if they're gonna, right, so they're obviously trying to do the faction thing, right? Trying to let us, be able to play who we want to play and blah, blah, blah. I think that the light and the dark would be a perfect opportunity to let you choose your faction, and...
So
do you think they'd ever do a faction? I
I
feel like they're
don't
going
know,
away from
but
factions like at this point.
I do, but that would be kind of a cool way to still have a faction, but make it, you know what I mean?
So yeah, like get rid of like the traditional Horde and Alliance stuff, right? They're doing a pretty good job of erasing those lines. We're going to be having the cross faction guilds. It's slowly happening. The story's kind of leading up to that. Obviously some of that stuff's going to take some time, like story wise, to like work out because some people like Greymane or still hate the Horde and all that stuff, hate the Forsaken. Some people like Bane, just hate every Centaur.
They should not work most of those types of things out. I think from the player perspective, it's a different story because it kind of goes parallel with the way that you have experienced the story as your character, right? Whereas like the people of old should still have their grievances between whatever.
No, I mean they should still have their prejudices and stuff like that because just to make it go away would be shitty storytelling. It's like hand waving shit.
Yeah.
And
And there definitely are definite reasons why Greymane hates the Horde. I mean, just play through their starting area. I mean,
specifically the Forsaken,
yeah, specifically the Forsaken, yeah. You know what I mean? Like, there's that's a lot of stuff that they did to him.
Yeah, and so, but going to that, like introducing a faction where it's the player's choice, whether you're choosing to support the light or the dark.
Yeah,
that could be leading to like a new avenue of like PvP and like world PvP type stuff where it's based on that as opposed to the traditional faction, and it's like, but you get to choose, right? Or you can choose to not support either one. Maybe now we're in a 3-faction system and maybe it's slightly impactful in the world, but not like as like constricting as the current faction stuff is, like, Horde and Alliance, like quest hubs type things, maybe, something like that, but like make it so that it gives you like flavor text or people respond to you differently or something like that, and it would be a neat thing to see them put in. So, and the old gods, I mean, they already kind of started doing that. Like there are still people that still have the eye of, from, what's his name?
N'Zoth?
Yeah, the Eye of N'Zoth, like headpiece. I'm pretty sure I got that on one of my characters, so I'll have to figure out which one has it. I don't know where. I think it was my priest, my shadow priest, because that makes the most sense. But
yeah,
it would be interesting to see how that worked because there's like no payoff to that yet. It's like nothing's kind of come out of it. So
Right.
It would be interesting to see how they tie that stuff in because, the new zone in 10.1 and the new raid and all that stuff is kind of going to Neltharion's secret laboratory, like deep in the earth kind of thing, which is most likely where he started encountering the whispers from N'Zoth and all that stuff. Kind of like how, like at the Seat of Ice Crown, way deep down at the bottom is Cthulhu. You know what I mean? It's like all that stuff. It's like like the Akir, right? AQ 20 and AQ 40 or whatever.
Yeah.
Like you had Cthulhu there, or I guess it was Yogg Saron in ICC, or in Ulduar.
Ulduar. Yeah.
It was Yogg Saron, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then Cthulhu was in AQ and all that stuff. So having that stuff be like a pervasive, ever persistent thing that may be there until Azeroth it comes out of the shell kind of thing is, like it's a good way to fall back on and kind of like expand and all that stuff because there's the Black Empire was a thing and it's like we've done the elemental stuff and I guess BFA kind of was ended with in the N'Zoth city kind of thing, the Black Empire. I mean, but it's kind of like a pocket dimension, really. I mean, it's not like it was actually on Azeroth, and like parts of it kind of broke through between the Golden Veil, or whatever it's called in Panda, and then the one place in Old World that was the zone for Cataclysm that I can't think of the name of, the Sand Zone with the pyramids.
Oldham.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know why I can't think of things today.
It's too much to remember.
It is a lot to remember, but there's a lot there that they can kind of expand upon without really feeling like they are retconning it. You know what I mean? It's like, because it is such kind of like an unknown and so briefly described and all this stuff. And again,
Well, and that's kind of the good way to do it, right? Just to briefly describe it and just kind of maybe don't tie everything up right away, because then a little bit later on you can kind of come back and pick up some of those plot threads that, are dangling and maybe tie them in a little bit, so you just leave them and you leave them vague. So when you need them, you can use them, you know?
And I mean, they seem to say that they're like two expansions ahead of the current one, like not like but like sketching out like what's going to happen. So the direct path on how they get there is still up in the air, because they can do whatever, but they know where they're going to start and where they're going to end. So I don't know, it'll be interesting. I'm waiting. I can't wait for the new zone. I think that's going to be fun. I need to do some more. I need to do the Furbolg stuff, that quest line stuff that came out with this current thing, and go through that, because there's probably some neat little tidbits there. But story wise, just kind of seeing some stuff. It's a pretty good setup. It's not a lot for the campaign stuff, but it's enough to kind of see like the division in the Drakthir and how some of them are still kind of like Deathwing supporters or Neltharion supporters kind of thing, and like think that they should be in charge or whatnot and shouldn't be kowtowing to whatnot, and maybe think that they're going to join the Primalist or something like that. So, it's good to see that, even though this created species is just like reborn, that they're not just all just like, oh yeah, no, okay, hey guys, yeah, we'll be friends with you.
Yeah.
They're still a dissenting faction. So,
Well, it's interesting because the Black Dragonflight stuff, I kind of forgot it really hasn't finished its storyline yet. So it really makes sense that like the patch is kind of like focused around all that.
yeah, and it kind of like the whole storyline really revolves around Ebonhorn, from High Mountain coming and all that stuff, and he kind of admits that he was afraid to do anything. That's why he hid with, he didn't make himself known sooner and all that stuff. That he was trying to hide from his connection with Neltharion as being part of the Black Dragonflight, and was ashamed of it, kind of thing, and is like, he knows that he has more stuff to do. And they updated his model in this patch and gave him like dragon eyes and all that stuff, so it looks pretty cool. So it's you're gonna see this shattered flight, right? Because you got Sibelian, right, from that went to Outlands with Deathwing and kind of supposedly fought off the influence. I bet he didn't, and I bet he's still got a little nugget of old god stuck in the back of his brain, and it's gonna grow.
Nugget of old god.
And then you got Rathian, right, who was taken away and raised away from all that stuff, so he was never corrupted. And then you got Ebonhorn, who I don't know if he was corrupted or not, or if he just ran away from it and didn't get corrupted because of that. But so like you kind of got like these three little micro factions of the Black Dragonflight, that are gonna, it'll be interesting to see how they reform. Because it's not the same thing as the Blue Dragonflight, where, Malagos went crazy, which he kind of did and stuff like that. But like he had to kill Malagos, and like the Black Dragonflight or the Blue Dragonflight was kind of decimated and spread out. And then they had like the group in Legion that were on the Broken Shore. That still kind of existed and all that stuff. So, that show up and whatnot in the Azure Span storyline, and like, so that you're seeing that rebuild. So I think we'll see a lot of there's a lot of the Dragonflight stuff where it's just like they are kind of rebuilding the flights, trying to get back to something. And whether or not the aspects are going to regain their powers or whatnot, there really hasn't been much in the ways of the tier story with like the tier clone that we made and all that stuff. That hasn't been followed up yet. So there's going to be some stuff with that coming up probably, which I'm really interested to see what they're going to do. If we're going to find some sort of like archived memory of tier and put it in there. So it's going to be like he's reborn. Like, I don't know what the thing we made is. Like, is it equivalent to like a Titan body or a Titan Keeper's body? I mean, is he going to be
so confusing, to be honest?
Yeah, I mean, it's like the Titan Keepers were, I mean, are they constructs? I mean, if you look at Odin, he looks like a construct, kind of. You know, were they created by the Titans to watch over here? So, like, they are creations. So, really, what we're doing is, like, rebuilding them, kind of like the protoforms for the Covenant leaders when we fought those in the raid. You know, like,
which was yet again a huge, confusing, like.
It's like, yeah, is the Winter Queen? Is she really just like some? I said
The
it
Winter
correctly.
I know.
I said it right. I knew it was going to come out of my mouth, and I focused on
saying it correctly.
Brian. Yeah, but you know what I mean? Like, those guys, are they? I don't know. Because when we killed the jailer, he kind of turned back into one of those, right? So, I mean, maybe they're just like really like high-class androids. Are the Titans like that too? Or are they like actual living beings?
I hope not. It's so weird. Don't do
It is
that.
weird, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe we're all in the Matrix. Maybe we're all in a simulation.
Well, and I mean, technically we are.
Somebody's gonna be on their deathbed, and they're just gonna go Rosebud, you know, and it's gonna be something like that, or it's gonna be like at the end of that one fucking. I don't know if it was a soap opera where it was like it all took place in this little snow globe type thing. There was something like that where that was the ending. I don't know if that was the one with
Those are such terrible endings, though.
They are, you know.
Yeah.
I don't think we're in line for that, but I don't know. So I'm looking forward to more expansion on that story stuff, and I think that they've been doing really good with the story. You know, it's like it's a complete shift from the storytelling in Shadowlands. You know what I mean? It's like it doesn't feel as confusing, it doesn't feel as disjointed, and it doesn't really feel like, you know, out of left field, like the whole shit with Sylvanas did. You know, like how they kind of like shoehorned her into that role, kind of thing. But yeah, looking forward to it. It is the second day of the month, so the trading post has been updated. There is a magenta cloud serpent that you can get.
That and the pet are really the only thing that look pretty good.
Egbert, and it's he is a hawk.
Is the mount new then, or is it something else that was
reskin of a cloud serpent?
Hey, I don't know if that one is a trading card mount or if it is. It's a new color. It just says so. It's not
just a recolor.
Yeah, there's a Egg Bob, who is a recolor of Egbert.
Yeah.
So basically, he's a Hawkstrider. His text is really funny. It's like some Hawkstriders are born to be great, others are born to be Egg Bob. Yep. Yeah, and he's like this goofy looking thing. And there's some, you know,
it's pretty cute.
Some transmog stuff. Looks, you know, some interesting things. But, you know, it's, so make sure you're doing that stuff. Get that. The monthly thing are Swords of Elune. So they are like, there's like sword blades with like some like wood hilts. Looks like it's been like reclaimed. I think they're all right. You know,
they're all right.
Not the best, but not the worst. You know,
this is definitely a more weapon focused one.
There are a lot of weapons and offhands. There's a torch.
The torches.
Yeah. And a bunch of books.
Those are awesome.
Yeah. A bunch of Librams.
It's just, I'm very happy with my weapons for my druid, which is, I mean, really the only character that I play. So it's like, it's hard to get excited about, you know.
Yeah, which is fine.
Yeah.
I mean, this is not it's not a guarantee that you're going to want everything on every, you know what I mean? It's like,
But I'd say they do a good job of like you don't feel the
Like you need to have
what do
it.
they call it? The FUD, the
Yeah.
fear, and
Yeah, the
whatever. Not
FOMO.
FOMO. It's FOMO.
FOMO.
It's FOMO.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you're
sorry.
missing out.
Yeah, they
Um,
do a good job
Yeah,
with that.
yeah.
Because
Mhm.
I guess we're going to really have to wait a couple more months really to see,
If anything comes around again.
yeah,
Yeah.
like what the cycle is on it. Is it going to be a yearly cycle and things come back around? Or is it going to be some things come back around, some things kind of come back every 18 months? You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So that they can allow to put new stuff in there. Because if it's just every year and you do it like within like 2-3 years, you have everything, and then it's a dead system. So there's got to be
Right.
some way to
I would assume they're just going to keep adding things in and then maybe just recycle maybe some things.
like
I would hope.
the stuff I took out of freezing the Buccaneers like transmog
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
You know what I
Mhm.
mean? It's like maybe we don't see that again. Maybe it's random. Maybe that's got bad luck protection on when it's going to show up.
Nah, I feel like random is probably what it is.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean,
Because they love their RNG.
there is not enough data yet to make a determination, so we will see.
Yeah.
But so far, I mean, I've liked
I mean,
the
there's
system.
enough data for us to guess.
Yeah, there's we could have guessed
The
before it even
gator is
came
at
out.
it again.
Yeah, but I mean,
I just wish you could earn more. Like,
yeah,
if you did more throughout, like I wish it didn't just stop you at that 1,000 or whatever. I
Well-
wish that if you did more stuff, you could continue earning, so you could continue getting more stuff. Like,
But-
to me, that's, sure, if you choose not to, you choose not to, but if you don't, there's still value in doing stuff. I don't like that there's not really, once you hit that, there's no value in doing it.
but that's like a double-edged sword, right? If you make it so that it's completely open, you can farm as much as you want and buy everything, then people get that. Well, that means that this stuff's never coming around again.
Well, but sure, but it doesn't have to. Like, I
So,
mean,
I know, but you're going to have people that are going to be out there just do nothing but that, and then that's
sure.
But where if you limit it, it just means it's like you can get it organically. You get a certain thing, and then it's just kind of like, yeah, okay, well, I got everything. What do I want to get? I don't know. It is a new system, so that may change. They may say, well, we're going to kind of, bump it up another 500, so you get 1,500 a month, because then, you can get almost everything every time, kind of thing. So far, the system's pretty good. You know what I mean? It's not perfect. It doesn't match, everybody's expectations, but it does provide something to do it's not demanding. It's not
No.
hard to do. So, it's
No,
like,
you can get it. I get it, and I log on to Mythic Plus and raid, and that's pretty
Yeah,
much it. And
you
then
can-
farm my keys now because that system is terrible. But other than that,
yeah, I mean, you can get it organically, so it doesn't feel as much of a chore.
Yeah.
As some of the other things do, which is good. It's good to have a system in that does not feel like work. You know what I mean? And I think that's important, to have things like that. They're making even more changes in 10.1 to the profession window. They're reorganizing it so it won't be like as huge and all that stuff. There's a minimal view kind of thing.
Why?
Eh,
Is there something wrong with it?
it's just less to see. I don't know. They're changing some of the stuff. I mean, they're kind of reworking it. The new, you still don't see profession orders for public orders for like blacksmithing hardly ever, because that ship I'm pretty sure is sailed. You see it every now and then, but it's, I don't know, some of the changes may have been good, some may not be. So I don't know. That's just something I saw they're making some changes. They did release the new season 2 Mythic Plus affixes. Quaking, Grievous, and Volcanic are going to be removed.
Quaking, Grievous,
And Volcanic.
Okay.
being
Volcanic never really was that much of an issue.
Right.
Quaking, yes, especially like thinking of like Herja, right? The fight where you have to all get under the bubble. If you got a mistimed quaking during that, it was absolutely terrible. Certainly with a tyrannical key. It was, burn all your cooldowns, and pray. Grievous, Grievous, I don't really mind too much. Grievous is okay until it's not. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Grievous is okay until shit hits the fan, and then Grievous is a real pain in the ass.
Right. It's hard to come back
certainly
from.
as a healer.
Yeah.
It's real hard to come back from. And Grievous is especially bad when somebody dies and then you res them and you forget that you have to heal them because, they just died. And so they're beneath the threshold for Grievous. So if you don't get to them immediately or don't have anything immediately to bump them up, then it's definitely a pain in the butt. Quaking, I think Quaking is definitely good to remove. Sanguine, you said? Sanguine is good. It was an annoyance.
Sanguine's not going anywhere. Grievous, Volcanic, and Quaking.
Okay. Yeah, Sanguine is fine. It's, you just change your talents up a little bit to, get the things out of the out of the
It's
blood
manageable.
puddles and
Some a little bit kind of.
That one is good because it's more. I feel like it's more a tank one because they have to be aware of where the puddles are dropping and where they're going, in regard to it. So I feel like it's more of a tank awareness one than it is anything else, right?
Right.
I wish that when you ran through Sanguine puddles, they healed you since Sanguine heals the bad guys.
Well,
that would be nice.
and it would be interesting. So they're adding 3 new affixes.
Did they say what they are?
Yep.
Oh.
One is called Incorporeal. So while in combat, incorporeal beings appear and attempt to destabilize players with spells that reduce their damage and healing done. They are susceptible to all forms of crowd control. So it's just kind of like a another ad that comes up.
So they don't do damage necessarily. They do a debuff, which I'm okay with. If they don't do damage and they do a debuff, that's pretty cool. Because you have to play around to that. You have to be like, oh.
A destabilizing spell. It's an 8-second cast or
an 8-second cast. Okay. So plenty of time to to get rid of it.
Otherwise, it applies a 50% damage / healing for 10 seconds.
Okay.
Reduction to it. And I don't know if it's to a single player or to everybody. So
no, I like that.
So you just kind of cancel that.
Yeah.
There's another one called Entangling.
Okay.
So you basically get attached to a vine, which slows you by 50%, and you have to run away within 8 seconds to snap it, or it'll stun you for 3 seconds.
That's kind of shitty if DPS get it, because then they're off the boss, but whatever.
Yeah, who knows how often it comes up and stuff like that. But, I mean, and then there is one called Afflicted. An afflicted soul will spawn with a disease, curse, or poison debuff, and then start a 10-second cast. So you have to heal it to full health to stop the cast, and you have 10 seconds. Otherwise, it does 0 damage, but reduces the haste of all players by 100%.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
That feels
All
bad.
right.
so
It does feel bad.
So you can either heal it to full or dispel the ailment. So there's a cursed one, a poisoned one, a diseased one, and an afflicted one. The afflicted one doesn't look like you can dispel anything, but the other 3 you can dispel to remove them or heal them to full. The afflicted one, I don't know if you might just have to heal that. Or oh no, never mind. There's only 3. The afflicted cry is the ability that they do. So if they get the cast off, it reduces the haste by 100%.
So I would have to probably heal the I could remove the curse and I could remove the poison, but I can't remove disease. So I'd
See,
have to heal the
yeah.
diseased one.
Right. And whichever is, and depending on the comp, you could have people that could have other things that could remove some of that. It could be a strat to do. But those are all level 7 or higher kind of thing. So those seem like they're interesting.
No, I like those. Those are not, aside from the running away one, that one seems kind of shitty, especially when you've got some tight DPS things going on. Losing a DPS to...
It's kind of managing when you're pulling bosses too. If you know when it's coming up.
Does it do damage?
No.
So it might be more for...
It stuns you for 3 seconds if you don't break it within 8.
Oh, okay.
So it's probably beneficial to just run away. Death Knights can probably pop their thing and just speed off and break it real quick and come back.
Yeah, I wonder how it's probably similar to all the other break-off mechanics that they have.
Yeah.
Entangling things that they have in there. So it's probably, plenty of world quests have you pick something up or a branch, something up, and then you have to break it. Run and break it. So
that's a pretty common thing. Yeah. So, I think they're doing some testing of the different combinations on the PTR to kind of see how they work and whatnot. So it seems like it'll be all right.
Yeah, those seem okay. I'm A-okay with them removing Quaking. That was a pain in the ass. And Grievous.
I don't know if they're
Volcanic, though, I don't know how that was.
It's
more ranged mainly got that, right? Did Melee
you got a fucking all melee group, and then it just starts showing up in the melee thing, and it sucked because you're not looking for it.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a level 10 one. I know they're getting rid of
the 7s.
Thundering.
Yeah, they're getting rid of Thundering.
But I don't know if they're replacing that.
Huh.
That I don't know.
It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So some more conspiracy theory type stuff. Some more is there is speculation that on some data mine stuff from 10.1 that there is potentially going to be a third evoker specialization. And apparently it's supported by some voice lines for Neltharion.
What would it be? Because they were saying no tank.
So, right, they said no tank.
Why can't we get another caster type tank, right? Like, come on, damn it. Put a tank in some cloth and let them go.
I wish that we got an evasion type tank. You know what I mean? Who?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Kind of like a monk,
evaded
right?
thing. Well, the monks soak and stagger, right?
Yeah.
But somebody who, can't catch me, can't hit me, like a rogue. You know what I mean? But with evasion, so it's like, So yeah, I think that would be really cool. I think kind of druids used to be like that with dodge a long time ago with the bears, but then they just made them into huge damage soakers. So they're just sponges now. Like they just have a lot of hit points and just absorb the damage. So I think it's not so much. But I always thought an evasion tank would be super cool.
It would be cool. Even stuff like we talked about it before, but like shamans and stuff would be still have a great. They have some great utility and some great lore around being like what could make a tank. You know what I mean?
I kind of wish they went back to like the off tank thing. So having a main tank and an off tank.
Somebody to tank one.
Sure, like ads and stuff like that or something like that. So the main tank just always stays on. Now I know they have to make tank mechanics interesting, so they've, otherwise they just sit there like getting hit in the face, so they've got to have tank swaps. They've got to have this and got to have that to make, make tanks more interesting in raid. But I don't know. I liked the whole having a tank and an off tank, and I don't know.
So, yeah, the specialization stuff talks about the different ones, the Devastators and the Preservers, which are the 2 specs, and then there's one that's an Augmenter, which again gets back to, I think we talked about this last time, some of the stuff seems to indicate a support type class that will use the Black Dragon Flight type magic to support things. Now, not sure how that's going to work. As far as doing like group buffs and enemy debuffs type thing, that's mostly what support classes tend to be. You know what I mean? Like, put the enemies at a disadvantage, put the friendlies at an advantage type thing. So
I mean, reality is like WoW's missing that that one piece, right? Quite a bit.
Yeah.
Like they could really make that what they call it, the Holy Trinity, right?
Yeah.
Is the tank,
Tank,
DPS, and healer.
Yeah. Make it a quadrilogy
like-
and add a support.
Yeah. I mean, that's what EverQuest always had, like classes once upon a time that did that. So you consider something like the Warlock or whomever that does, cursing, and then mages have buffs where they can buff other people, right, in short periods of time. Just stuff like that. So I think it'd be a good change for the future.
It's gonna be interesting because they're going to have to change the way combat is designed to account for that. Because if this class comes out and they don't have a way to do, if their benefit is not such that it equals a third DPS, you know what I mean? Like if their DPS is like subpar, it's not like at the level of like all the other DPS in there, so like they're not doing the damage, so things aren't dying at the same rate. Like their beneficial and deficit type spells need to basically, cover that spread. And if it doesn't, then nobody's ever going to take them. You know what I mean? Like,
right. Yeah. Obviously, it's a fundamental like shift, right? Like it definitely isn't as easy as what we're talking about. That's for sure. But it does. It sounds good, at least.
I think it would.
Paper.
It could lead to the rework of some other classes to do stuff. Like I really think that you could give like Death Knights and make Unholy be more of a more disease based, where and make them more necromantic, right? To where they can, their diseases have way more deficits and debuffs on the enemy, but also kind of suck the life force and spread it out around them and other, like make it like a pseudo support healer type thing where like they are doing damage, but like their diseases are more debuff
Shadow
oriented.
Priest for Death Knight.
Yes.
Yeah, and they suck the life force and then they can use it to heal people and stuff like that. Hey, that would be fucking amazing.
That would be really cool.
That'd be cool.
It would be way more necromancer type thing,
See,
and that's a Death Knight type thing, right?
I would love it if they made Death Knights a healer, and you healed that way.
I think they should do that anyway. But if they can't be a direct healer, this I think would be a good compromise.
Like an off heal, like a support healer. I wish that they would incorporate support now into, and sure they have years and years of content where it wouldn't be relevant.
Honestly,
and
like
would be a huge undertaking. But think about it, incorporating like support into, so then you have somebody coming along who's, okay.
Yes. What I'm about to say, this is parallel with the tanking stuff, right? Because as soon as you take all the pressure off, right, you're taking most of the pressure off of the primary person for their role. Like, you know what I mean? Why not?
Yeah.
We should be doing that way more often. Like in your case, you don't have to be the only healer, right? Yeah. You're like the 60% healer.
Right.
Right. And there's other things that are keeping everyone going.
So then you can also do damage as well as
it's kind of like what Disc Priests were a couple expansions ago.
Yes.
Put bubbles on people and then damage and it heals them kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Now, that's more, past... It's an active healing, but it's an indirect healing, and you're doing damage, so it's kind of making up for the direct heals because things are dying faster, kind of thing. But it's a little bit different than that in concept, I think, because a Disc Priest is still a healer, right?
Yeah.
It's like they're putting spells on people so that when they do damage, they get heals, but that's how they healed, as opposed to debuffing the enemy. There isn't really any class that does debuffs. You have some like warriors got some shouts that, you know, kind of put them at a little bit of a disadvantage. There's some like passive things like I know DKs have some things, or some other ones where like when you hit them, it kind of reduces their attack speed a little bit.
Yeah,
but it's all
it's all
mini
stuff
things.
that you're not going to get yelled at for not having applied is really the thing.
Right. But if you had a support class that focused on those, making them super fucking not critical, but like,
and it's interesting though, because you do say like that like a lot of classes do have supporty abilities, or some classes do have supporty abilities, like a warlock's curse of tongues.
Yeah.
Slowing down casting speed for some mobs could be huge. You know what I mean?
I mean, you could kind of rework Affliction to be a support class in that sense, because you're putting all that stuff out, you know, and, you know, getting some like chaos boons for your, you know, it's the whole boons and debuffs.
Consider something like arms for warriors, right? To differentiate beyond two-hand versus like two-hand or two-one-hand, you know, with arms versus fury, arms could be more of the tactician type, which could be a support class.
Armor break. Not hamstring, but like, kind of like paladins were in D&D 4th edition.
Just thinking about like how you were talking about a cloth tank, and I'm thinking about Guild Wars 2 and a mesmer, and putting clones out as, you know, defensives, you know what I mean? So you could have a cloth tank who is, you know, big attack is coming out. Okay, let me put up my clone, so that way, you know, it hits my clone and it doesn't hit me, or you know what I mean? Like, oh my god, that would be so amazing.
Gameplay loop to be in though, right? Like it's totally different. You're not just hitting and blocking and all that garbage. Like you're actually doing some fun, interesting things as a part of that role.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think making it so that I don't know if you can do it with an existing class, and because then you kind of take away a spec, unless they're going to go through and add new specs to everybody.
Yeah.
Like they could do that.
No, I don't think you take away, right? I mean, they've hardcore reworked tons of specs.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to change anything. So I don't. So
immediately think about like survival for hunters, right? How much that's gone back and fucking forth. Like, and it has tons there of utility they could turn into a support class.
Yeah.
Support spec.
Right.
Support spec.
Well, you know what would kind of be cool is if they just got rid of specs
and just
let you build. Like,
getting spicy.
Yeah, right. Like put everything into, so you have put everything into that and just let you choose. Oh my god, could you imagine
what you just suggested is original talent trees.
Yeah. Yes, I know.
That's exactly what it is.
Which I loved original talent trees, but I'm also thinking
original talent trees were too linear.
Yeah, they were very linear. You had to
right, but you could make hybrid builds that kind of did this kind of stuff.
You could,
not intended that way, and therefore like did not provide enough utility in most cases.
Yeah,
right.
The ones that did were super niche, if you will.
But that's kind of like what it is, though. It's where you don't. It's like you're not. I am a blood death knight. I am a death knight who has learned blood abilities and frost abilities to make like a blood frost tank, right?
Or you make a talent tree, but it's not spec based. It's what you want to focus in. So
that's like the original ones.
No, you have a support based one. You have so say they add in a support based role, right? So then you have a spec where you're like, okay, I'm gonna take more of the support talents instead of the straight up damage talents. You know what I mean? And then you also, you obviously there's always going to be people who do like the cookie cutter stuff. But I'm thinking more of kind of like well, maybe not, because with Rift you mixed and matched classes and stuff.
Yeah, it seems like
to make a new class, and I'm not necessarily suggesting that, but if they did go with a more supporty route and adding more support things in, then you could be like, oh hey, what role am I going to fulfill in this dungeon? I'm going to be the tank. Okay, cool. I am a tank, but thinking from a druid perspective, I'm usually a tank, but I want to be more of a support-based person in this one. So then you go through and you're like, okay, I'm going to pick all the kind of the supporty talents. Like I'm going to take Ursula's Vortex, and I'm going to take Typhoon, and I'm going to take all these,
I think they should make it so that so like right now, just Death Knights, for example, make it so that you could do a blood tank build, a frost tank build, or an unholy tank build.
Sure.
Druids, you could make a feral tank. You could make a boomkin tank. You could make a tree tank. Where
oh my God, that'd be
just
amazing.
imagine,
Stop.
Imagine if
stop. You're getting crazy now.
I mean, I changed my underwear right now, Jim. Stop that.
I didn't mean to make you shit.
Not, okay, yeah, sure. Okay. All right. Same difference. Whatever.
Either way, you made a mess in your pants.
Yeah.
There you go.
But you know what I mean? Like, make it so that there are talents that are comparable across each branch, so that way you get flavor.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, or it's like, I'm a tank.
I mean, they kind of already stepped in that direction, the way they built the system. Like,
well,
I don't think they're that far away from it, because it's not as linear. I know there are critical paths that everyone's going to take.
Sure.
But you're never going to get away from that, unfortunately, unless it's a single player game.
This is okay.
You know?
This is the solution to this. Okay. You do not have a spec. You have one group of talents.
Yeah.
That are whatever. You don't pick a spec, you pick a role.
That's what I just said.
But no. This is different than what you said. This is different than what you said, because I'm saying
I got a better idea.
Okay.
Just pick the role.
Yeah.
Right? Don't worry about
But
spec.
what I'm saying is when you select
It
a
was my idea.
role, it changes the talents to be based on that role.
Oh, I see.
As opposed to having all the talents there and you pick them, you pick the role, the talents are adapted to be.
Oh, I
like,
see. So
these
it's
are
the same
frost
talents, but they're just changed to be support
they're
or damage.
not necessarily all the same talents. Reworked to have like 3 different or 4 different like role types, but like just different ones. So like, it's like some kind of like they are like the talent trees are now, where you have the Death Knight tree and then you have the spec tree, right? So you would have a Death Knight tree where you have all like your core Death Knight things that you want to keep, Death and Decay, Death Strike, all that kind of stuff. But then your tank tree would have a couple of different paths on it that would be, these are unholy tanking things, these are frost ones, these are blood ones, and they really maybe are semi-equivalent, but they make the play style different. But then you also get like a frost tank, or like you hit like Icebound Fortitude, it's like your character becomes encased in ice and you have like ice armor for or whatever, or something like that.
Ice baby.
Dum, 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 dum. But yeah, and it's just like that. There's all different kinds of way you could do it, and I think that if allowing you to pick a role and then build based on that, as opposed to I'm picking blood and that's tank and all the abilities are built around it. I want blood DPS back. I want blood DPS a la fucking Death Knight first edition.
I want hybrid back. I want a blood Death Knight to be able to go into blood presence and tank if your tank goes down and you need somebody to tank. So you have that ability. Like, it's all about using your abilities.
Yeah.
All of your abilities.
I do miss that.
To their fullest, right? Mm-hmm. That was one of the nice things about Torghast, was you used a lot of abilities that maybe you didn't necessarily use. I love using things in my toolkit that I don't get to use very often. You know what I mean? I love that. That is awesome.
Her favorite one is Soothe Critter.
My favorite one is Soothe. I absolutely love that they made Soothe viable.
Isn't there one for like Soothe, like charm woodland creatures?
There is a charm woodland creatures. I don't ever use that. I mean, because I don't ever play, and when I do play, I'm not running around charming woodland creatures. I love that hibernate. I don't take it now because I don't really have a need for it right now. But Soothe is amazing. I love that it's useful.
Yeah.
I love when they put that stuff in there and it's useful and it's like, oh, hey, this is great. Make more of that stuff but also make it so it's not necessary, right? Because nobody always has a druid in their party.
Right.
Nobody always has, when you're fighting elementals, nobody always has a warlock in the party that can banish them, or demons, or whatever.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Shamans do elementals.
Yeah. Nobody has necessarily, it's not.
Right.
People aren't min-maxing their classes for,
It all goes back to the whole, bring the player, not the class kind of mentality.
I really liked that. Bring the player, not the class.
Well,
and I know that people hate it.
If they had done, no, it should be that way. You shouldn't need to have a specific comp to do something.
Yeah.
Just like, because then it would make it a lot less difficult as a Frost Death Knight to do Mythic Plus keys. Because nobody wants you. Yeah. But
we want you.
Well, you don't have a choice. The only reason you want me is to call out everything so that everybody knows what the hell they're doing.
No, that's in Raid. That's not in Mythic Pluses.
That's whatever. Oh, yeah. That's a big thing, though.
It is a big thing. Absolutely.
Yeah.
That makes our raids progress.
We'll put up with your subpar DPS as a Frost Death Knight because you know how to call out the stuff.
Yeah.
So we'll deal with your inadequacies.
You're fine.
Oh.
But
are you low on the charts this season? Is that the problem?
Apparently, when they buffed them at the beginning of 10.0.7, they shot up to the top. And then they nerfed everything by 3% for Frost DKs. Now, you're looking at like the top 0.0005% of Frost
and that's
Knights.
What's frustrating to me is I don't think they should nerf based on the best players. I think they should nerf based on the worst players. You know what I mean? Because those best players are going to get amazing DPS no matter what.
Yeah,
because they are the best players.
Heaven forbid people in mythic raids are topping the charts with this stuff, whatever. It must be overpowered. That means everybody's got to suffer.
Yeah, everybody's going to be overpowered like that because the best players are like that. Come on now. That doesn't make any sense.
It's dumb. I mean,
if the worst players are suddenly, leaps and bounds above, okay. Sure, maybe there's something that needs to be done.
I have a better idea. Boost every other class by 3%.
Yeah.
Instead of knock DKs down.
And then you don't need to put in that ridiculous ring.
If they have to do incremental changes, they should not regress. They should go just buff.
Yeah.
Overpower the stuff and let people have fun.
Yep.
It is the end of the season and just redo it when the next one starts.
Oh, hell yeah. Perfect timing.
And speaking of perfect timing.
We're all waiting.
I know. I was just...
Oh, okay.
Just fucking with you.
Oh.
Now, I think it's a good time to wrap things up.
Oh.
So thank you, everybody. Thank you for listening. It's been fun chatting about this. We're gonna fix this game.
Yeah.
All three of us. We got the idea.
If we don't fix this game, we'll make our new one when we're old and crusty and retired.
So tomorrow. Oh, you said retired. That's gonna be a while.
That's going to be a while.
It'll be a while.
Old and crusty, already there.
Yeah.
That's right.
But yeah, thanks everybody for listening. You can check us out at facebook.com/server restart in. Shoot us a tweet at server_restart. And what's your favorite fish? And we'll catch you guys next week. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.